thank you so much for joining us on what is our first ever podcast in the UK. Our first guest, no pressure. For our audience, it would be really good if we could get an intro to you, a little bit about who you are, your background, before we get into the business itself.
Certainly. Well, thanks very much for having me. This is amazing. Thank you. So my background has been as a marketing director. So I've risen through the ranks of different marketing roles, and eventually, obviously, became a marketing director, marketing leader. Been called all sorts of things over the years.
As you do.
Field marketing, CMO, head of marketing, VP of marketing, all these sorts of things. So yes, as a result, I've helped grow and develop and nurture marketing teams, working very closely with sales teams, service teams, and the rest of the business at sort of board level.
And presumably from that experience, it evolved from being internal to saying, you know what, I need to do something for myself. How did that all happen?
Absolutely. Well, over the many years, I would deal with lots of different agencies, from PR agencies, digital agencies, you name it really. As well as my marketing role, I ran the bid teams, the business alliance teams, inside sales. So I did quite a lot underneath the umbrella. So I learned a heck of a lot in that time. But dealing with, external agencies, and indeed judging some of the agency awards as well over the years, I picked up a lot of different things on campaigns and how they operated, and dealt with some fantastic partners over the many years, both in the UK but also internationally as well. And then I realised that actually to help a fellow CMO or sales director or indeed business owner, agencies, we needed to be a lot more accountable, we need to be a lot more proactive. Yeah. So rather than just wait for the brief to come, where we had to create the ideas, we would brief in an agency, we'd project manage it, we'd deliver it. We decided that actually the model slightly broke, and we could actually be that proactive agency that if we learned something on another account, we could ring up another client and say, wouldn't it be great if you did this, or this has just worked, or this has not worked, of course. Yeah. So we were able to be a lot more proactive and more of a business partner. So that's what we decided to do. A lot of CMOs, global, I was in their shadow, they goaded me on to say, absolutely right, put your money where your mouth is and do something about it. So I joined with some fellow visionaries, both marketing, sales, operations, and they said, absolutely right, why don't we do it? So Secret Sauce was born. I
love the name. Give us some background to where that came from.
Well, it does, it says on the tin, really. We like to be, again, I talked about awards and things like that. We like to be sort of in the trenches, as it were, alongside, shoulder to shoulder with our clients. So, we're not necessarily looking for any awards and accolades. Referrals are probably our biggest accolade, and where our business card gets passed to the next CMO or investor or indeed a CEO. So yeah, that's really, we're sort of behind the scenes with the delivering results. So we used to get described by our clients as less of an agency and more of a partner, and then that sort of evolved into, actually, this is our secret sauce. Because
we're a partner.
Yes, because sometimes we'll even go in and people won't even know we've been there. We'll do a job. We'll either do some due diligence on a potential acquisition, or we'll look at some product marketing, or we'll review the marketing, review the sales. So sometimes we'll go in and go out, very discreetly, again, not looking for any accolades, and do our job. And that's why we've become the partner to the sort of C-suite, but also marketing people and salespeople from different levels.
And typically, I know you say you come in at different times, but where's your sweet spot? Where do you like to come into the business? When do people normally need you the most?
That's a good question. We've learned this over the years. There's two sort of inflection points, I should say. There's high growth. So companies need high growth, and they need the resources and the talent and the skill sets and indeed the equipment and software to get there. Or troubleshooting. Those are the two inflection points. Okay. Fortunately, we don't have to do too much troubleshooting. And in any engagement, there's always, it's never perfect, it's never white and white. So we have to go in and do actually fix stuff with our experience. But mainly it's high growth. And then size of organizations, that could be anybody from literally, we have an idea. So from a startup, maybe investment backed, all the way through to enterprise sized businesses where we'll go in as a sort of, troops on the ground and be able to sort of help out anybody needs their help regard to any department.
And I think this is why you and I started chatting originally is we deal a lot with the startup industry, and often they need marketing, but they can't really afford to bring in a CMO. Is this something that you help with? Do you step in at that stage and can go, let us help you while you build this up, and then we can see together what you need to do at a later stage?
Absolutely right. We got very good from dealing with different acquisitions and even selling business to other businesses, working out exactly what a company would need at what time. And because we understand the value of different bits of marketing and running marketing budgets, then we're sort of the best of all worlds, really. We can go in and work out what they need in which order and then start to deploy that. And with our model, we're quite flexible. So rather than hiring or onboarding different agencies, we have a team and then we'll have a core team, and then we bring in the relevant skills necessary at the right junction. And anything we need that's not within our kit bag, as it were, and our list of services,
you can bring in.
We know we have a little black book of different partners we can bring in at any one time that will get the job done. And that's pretty much what it is to get the job done.
And I'm going to go to a slightly different topic, but your offices were something we really loved. So you're working from a library in Peterborough, but there's a cool story behind that, actually. So.
Right. Yes, we like to be slightly different. We preach about our clients disrupting marketplaces and differentiating themselves. Yeah. So when it came to choosing our own office, in the first year, 2 years, we didn't have an office. We were actually working outside of our client sites, so we were on site most of the time, and that would take us anywhere from the south coast to London to the northern tip of Scotland, overseas. So that was great. But when we started to hire more and more people, and especially younger talent, and this was obviously before lockdowns and COVID, working from home, they wanted to work in sort of a nice environment. So we had both Cambridgeshire, Lincolnshire, and lots of other and places in London, all sort of saying, like, come and choose our location. And then it was about 6-7 years ago, you may remember, all the libraries were closing down. So we thought we couldn't stand by and let that happen. So I don't know who approached who, but we sort of found our local library, because we sort of live sort of East Midlands. And so we approached them, and they said, what if we take the top floor? And they were open 1 day a week and about to close at that stage. Now they're open 6 days a week, servicing tens of thousands of residents. So that's really quite, and again, if we're going to practice what we preach, we feel that's
bringing your values back into,
and it's a lovely 16th century building. It's a lovely village just sort of east of Stamford, if you know it, and so it's ideal, but for our guys. And again, anywhere in the country isn't a problem for us, because we're just off the A1.
Quick train into where we are today.
Quick train into London. Here we are today. So it's so convenient, but in fact we operate all over the world. So it's from our little library, and yeah, it's kind of nice. People like working there. In fact, they couldn't wait to get back after lockdown, actually, which is nice.
And how do you find working with global businesses? Because I suppose you have to think about what marketing works in different geographies, because that is always challenging. It's slightly different wherever you are.
You're absolutely right. No region's the same. Even within the region can be different in different sectors and different size businesses. There's lots of variables at play. Fortunately, with our experience, certainly the management team worked in international businesses. So I myself have run international marketing teams, sort of hub and spoke, and the other way around as well. And you learn to appreciate and sort of tailor the marketing accordingly. And again, the world of marketing's evolved massively, and it continues to evolve. So you've got to be really on top of it. And it's tough for any in-house marketing team, in-house sales team as well. There's so many moving parts. It's very easy to become insular. So that's the
And
joy.
how do you separate those two? Because that's an interesting thing for me, is marketing and sales are often seen as separate functions, but they're not. They're actually in one.
They're absolutely,
especially in today's world. You just can't have one without the other, I don't think.
Absolutely. And I think this is why I've always worked with successful marketing teams, and the culture has been really healthy, because you're absolutely right. We don't see ourselves as, sort of cats and dogs fighting. It isn't. It's one challenge. It's an overall business challenge. There's targets to be hit. There's customers to look after. There's partners to onboard and look after and nurture. So that shouldn't be the responsibility solely of the marketing team. And likewise with the sales. I mean, marketing teams, and I think that this is happening more and more. Sales and marketing alignment is a bit of bit of a mantra of mine over the many decades, and it's quite nice to now see. And I think there's systems bringing people together. There's processes, there's culture and models, and so it's starting to break down those silos. But yeah, so say no to the silos, sort of.
It's a new saying today. Say no to the silos.
Yeah, say no to the silos. So revenue operations is a big drum we're banging at the moment, which does exactly bring not just sales and marketing, but also service, and treating the client, put the client in the middle, and treating them pre and post transaction, not just trying to get them over the line.
Yeah.
And then stick them in another department where they're then looked after. Far from it. So that's where we are adding value to businesses, to be able to give them a different approach to how they deal with customers and prospects.
And what are some success stories, I suppose, where you've gone in and really helped with that? Does anything come to mind? So I'm putting you on the spot a bit.
No, quite fortunate actually. There's quite a lot, so I'm trying to pick one out my memory banks that would be good. Again, typical secret sauce fashion. We sort of trying to keep the brands anonymous. So we deal with so many different brands. But no, I think some of the more rewarding ones is taking something from an idea, and taking that all the way through to helping them with the UI, UX, the customer journeys, the sales and marketing infrastructure, so CRMs, automation tools, chat tools, whatever it might be, to be the tech stack, the MarTech stack, or the marketing tech stack, or the sales tech stack. So literally being there the whole journey and watching them flourish, and then watching them then slowly onboard their own team, and then coaching their own marketing teams as well as they grow, because obviously we can't do everything as well. So the whole idea is we want to get them fit to fight in their own marketplace, and they'll go through different rounds of funding. So to watch a company, and we've seen a few of these, all the way through to acquisition, is really quite rewarding.
And you've been with them on their whole journey in various guises.
As they said over the horizon on their yachts, I waved to them on the shore.
I'm still here.
I wish them every success.
Remember me.
But we've been in the marketplace long enough now where these people have sold their businesses, done very well. They're coming back, and they sort of want to do it again. They want to build bigger portfolios and be even more ambitious. So fortunately, the first call they make is to Secret Sauce, and we're like,
what we like to hear.
Old friends, and we pick up, where what we do best.
It's the best way to do it, to refer us. So.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of your journey and starting Secret Sauce, I think for all the founders out there, what have been some of the challenges you faced along the way? Because I'm certain it hasn't been easy at every step.
Right, I'll keep this short, because I think on a personal level, I've learned a lot about myself. I think I reached a point where I was confident to start our own business. And you do your MBAs and all the rest of it, and all your
it only equips you for that match,
all your qualifications, and the School of Life and Hard Knocks and all the rest of it. But when you actually start your own business, there's so many variables at play that you can't teach you all of them. So you have to sort of roll with the punches. And there's a few new life skills I had to sort of pick up. So while I used to operate marketing budgets and deal at sort of board level and that type of thing, this is different. And
you're responsible for
and it's
people's income now.
And it's personal as well.
Yeah.
You can't help it. It's something you've grown as an idea into something, and you've seen it flourish. So I think the challenges from us is being too cautious sometimes. I see other businesses just going for it, but we have seen again in the agency, a lot of agencies get too ambitious and go pop,
too quickly,
or they lose their customer focus. So we've been really quite cautious. So that's been a challenge for us to sort of. Me personally, stop being cautious and let the company grow and learn to let go as well. I think the challenge is knowing that we can't do everything. I think we've focused over the years with regard to what we're really good at.
What is that?
And then it is the sort of strategic marketing side, working with a CMO or a business owner or a sales director, understanding the numbers and then working out what processes, data, and also what tech stack is going to be
the right one
to grow.
Yeah.
And you can do that from a startup all the way to some enterprises are re-looking at some of their tech stack and what they have in place, because they've collected a lot of baggage over the years. So that's, I'd say, our real strong point is where we can go in quite objectively and with our experience from other sectors and other size businesses, be able to offer options and advice and then stick around to see it being implemented. I think that's really quite key.
And so going back to sort of your challenges, so really growing that at a pace that's manageable. and still keeping an eye on those values. I think that's been quite critical.
It is. I mean, our values sort of come from within, really. We, probably wrongly, but we don't have them on the wall. They're just felt every day, and they're exercised every day, which is nice. So actually keeping the values and things like that has actually been positive for us. I think scaling the business is being key. Anybody can grow a business and grow a profitable business, but having to get to a stage
almost,
where you're scaling that business is really quite can be quite difficult. But again, we practice what we preach. When we're telling companies about building data and processes and tech stacks and the rest of it, that also comes because we've had to do it ourselves. So.
And I think when we spoke, one of the challenges you raised with me was you're quite used to being a hands-on in the detail CMO, and now you have to suddenly be a business owner, which takes you away from some of what you're passionate about in some ways. You're looking in from the outside.
Yes, that's been again on a personal level, and for some of my fellow directors, the biggest sort of learning curve, knowing to let go, because I do love the sort of marketing leadership role, and all going well. And with the wind behind us, if we grow, that's what I'd ideally like to do, is have the business, have the business, have a managing director, have all the CFOs, and then me almost be able to
get back to what you
get
love.
back to doing that, which would be lovely.
And I think that's the challenge that a lot of founders have is, suddenly you're removed from what you like doing on a day to day, but it's trusting to hand over the reins to somebody else because it is your project, it is your baby to some degree.
Yeah. So. And don't get me wrong, some subject matter experts become managing directors and absolutely love it and flourish, and that is then their role. But when you sort of, as I say, been doing their sort of leadership roles for as long as I have, you do sort of miss it. I get very jealous of CMOs that I'm working with heads of marketing I'm working with and heads of sales, because I think,
get me back.
Exactly. It was a fun part of my career.
So we're really looking forward to working more closely with Secret Sauce. I think with a lot of the businesses that we're involved in now, there's definitely a need to have a partner like yourself. When do we start, when should companies reach out to you? When is the right time for us to say, you know what, let's engage with Secret Sauce right now? And I know we've covered it briefly, but it's really important, I think, for people to understand when is the right time. You've got an idea. Do they start then to say, help us with that, get some traction on that? Or do we wait a little bit longer?
The short answer is as early as possible, even if it's just a phone call or discovery call. So, we're not going to be into sort of, signing you up tomorrow. It's a case of if we can help, and that's sort of, again, part of our, our DNA, if we can help you early doors and it helps you later down the line, and you might then hire a marketing team or another agency or whatever, that's absolutely fine with us. As long as we've played a little part in that journey and we've helped, that's what makes us jump out of bed in the morning. So as early as possible. But if someone's reaching a point where they are trying to scale, or they are scaling rapidly and they're having to sort of reverse engineer some of the things that they've left behind that they need to get to, then that's again where we can come in. Again, we don't need the brief. We can come in, we have a discovery call. We can almost write the brief for them and then execute on that brief.
So Nick, we've been chatting a lot about a partnership because of the companies that we work with, and we notice that they need this function, they need marketing, they need to be able to create brand awareness in the market. But sometimes, and I know we've touched on it, it's too early, they don't have that money, but Secret Sauce can help those businesses in a way that's cost effective and help them scale and sort of come in and out as you need, so you don't need to necessarily always have the big bang, but you can scale up their team and reduce your services. So that's something that you guys are quite keen to push a little bit more in that startup space, isn't it?
And that's how we've laid our stall out. That's our mantra. So yes, we're there for growth. So we've developed a very flexible model that gets them there. So they can we can deploy a 6-man, 8-man plus team, and we can scale that team up. We can scale that team down. We can bring in the specialist talent we need. So it's digital marketing, it's marketing management, and they can sort of come in at the different junctions. So it's a completely flexible model, and we're trying to be the sort of agency that I'd have wanted to have partnered with, that is not looking at the retainer.
Well, it's not the awards, is it? I'm part of your team. You don't even need to tell anybody that we're not.
Exactly. That's where we get our kicks, to be fair. So yeah, the way people can sort of partner is have initial conversation to sort of just over recall. Tell us what their aspirations are for the business, some of the trials and tribulations as well of sort of getting there, and then we can help steer them in the right direction.
Yeah.
At that stage, there's no commercial arrangement. There's just, can we help? And if it's a case of actually, no, you need to go down these steps. We've done that with loads of businesses. We've actually said, go and do these things first.
Amazing.
You don't need us just yet. When you come to that stage, we'd like if you gave us a call, but let's just keep in contact.
Nick, just before we go, when startups look at marketing, there's a whole array of topics or areas that they need to cover. What are some of those things that they need to consider that you suggest, or a sort of a checklist that people need to look at before?
I think there's some challenges for startups in general, such as there's loads of checklists out there if you go on the different search engines and put challenges for startups like financial planning, marketing is always there, promoting the business, budgeting, finding the right talent, onboarding that talent, time. And the nice thing is, we've developed, ways of working that actually not only knock off one of those points, but several of those points. So, we have the talent, we have the skills, the software, the tools, we've got the time, so we can free business owners and investors up, quite rapidly, so they can concentrate on the strategy of the business. So.
And that's actually a good point when you consider startups. I think people forget all the tech that you need, all the time that you need. So it's not just about hiring a CMO, it's about what comes behind that. If that person starts with no tech, how do they do their job?
Yes, if you build the foundations right from the outset and know the vision, then everything sort of slots into place. But if you put in tech and then start to expect to put in process and data over the top of that, all you'll do with the technology is accelerate the wrong processes and poor processes. So we tend to sort of stop CEOs that we work with and say, right, just check yourself. Make sure you get the building blocks in place. And then when you do accelerate, everything will come good.
Because you'd rather have the right processes in place before hiring an enormous team and then having to backtrack and try to put those in place, because that's incredibly difficult to do.
All you then end up doing is accelerating the wrong processes, or then having to go back to re-engineer.
Band-aiding, I suppose.
That's a bit more fiddly than actually taking some time out in a darkened room and we're actually working out, sometimes even paper-based exercise.
Old school.
Of actually working out, custom user journeys, which technology is going to get you there in the first stage, the second stage. And there's some fantastic freemium tools out there that startups can use day one that can grow with them, as opposed to having to swap out systems and put other systems in. It's just a hassle that business owners don't need. So that's again where we come in and just say, right, even before you used us, what technology you're using, what your process is, what your data. And if they're there scratching their heads, that's where we can say, right, we can come help you do that if you're busy. Or once you've done that, then you'll be in a lot better place later on.
That's fantastic. And I think that's something that all of them need to do. So if you're struggling with that, reach out.
Please do.
Initial conversation. So Nick, before we say goodbye, it's been really great to have you on today. How do people reach you if they want to chat further about this? We'll obviously post everything onto this video so that you can reach out to Nick directly, but websites, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yes, obviously secretsourcemarketing.com. There's obviously follow us on our socials. That's always a good way to check in to see what we're up to and what we're doing. It's usually quite a nice way. But yes, or use a good old fashioned phone. and we will pick it up and we will and a live person will answer. So
good old days.
the good old days. So yeah, every form of communication really. But and then our next process from there is we have a very open and honest conversation. Probably only lasts about an hour and a half. And then from that, we can start to be able to help.
Great. I've really enjoyed chatting to you today, Nick, and we will post all Secret Sources and Nick's details to this video. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Dan.
We wish you every success. We are looking so forward to partnering with you guys more, and I think there's some great synergy. So nice to have chatted to you.
Exciting times.